4. Okay, so each table is going to have the same entries as long as it can find it, but the numbers, the amount of them will vary because you're changing the dynamics of the matrix. Okay. Um, so under Yeshua, you have this 22. That's actually from the other table down here because it's in the same chapter. You see it running across here backwards, actually. Yod, Shin, Wav, Ayin. So that 22 is actually from the other table, but it's in this table as well because it's in the matrix. But you also see it in ELS of 224. Now you can go down this list and you can start turning things on. You can turn things off. You can double click on each entry as you open up the tree, and you'll see where everything is. And what I start doing is I start looking for relevant places. If these entries are actually from the plain text, so you're going to see them right in the plain text. This is the lamp, and right next to it is the table, and then the next one is showbread. But as you can see, they don't just come up in the plain text. Some of them actually come out as ELSs. So you can actually check and see where those ELSs bring you and see if they're in proximity of your access term. So you can double click on each one of them and see where they position themselves. This one positions here, and the next one over here, and you can just go through it and see where they position themselves. So that might be significant for later, so I'll keep that one on. And then you have that one and that one. And that one might be, but it's kind of big. Over here. So that's the only entry other than where it says 1 up here to close them all without having to go through and click. Just hold your shift key while you're clicking one of them, and it'll close all of them. And then you can go back and reset the one that you want to stay on there. Now remember, if it's blue, it's on. If it's yellow, it's off. Your left mouse button turns it on, and your right mouse button turns it off. And keep going down through this list. I have 2 entries of the Holy House. There's one. There's another one over here, so I'll just keep those in there. And then go to the next one. This is the word precepts. Ordinances. So there's 2 of them in the plain text. One there, up there, one down here, but there's also one in ELS. I double click on it to see if it has any relevancy to the table, and you see it's pretty stretched out. So this probably has meaning, but just in another table. So I want to leave that off. So I right click on it, and you can go down the table and keep looking at each entry to see where they are. And now I'm at the word code. 12. See, that runs right along the bottom in the plain text, so I want to leave that one on. And then there's your 22. That's the one from the other table. So we have 2 entries actually from the minus 22 table. you have Yeshua already there because it's the access term, and then you have the word the code here at a ELS at -22. So some of these are going to show up in the entry list for codes because they're set in there. So there's 38, and then there's 59, and 82. So you just scan through them and see if they're going to be any relevancy. They're kind of all over the place.
So Chris, do you have your matrix filter off or closest, or how do you normally set it?
Okay, I keep that off.
Okay.
Usually because I'm doing small tables and I can see the whole matrix. That would be useful if you were doing like a full table, a full book matrix. Like if you're looking at a long access term that it requires the whole Tanakh or the Torah or the Peshitta. You might want to go closest or smallest. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but I usually keep it off because I'm looking at smaller books.
Gotcha.
The lock matrix I stay off, and then this ignore skip of 1. Well, I'm looking at a lot of entries with a skip of 1, so I keep that off. So here I have 2 entries out of the word search for code that have some relevancy. One at -12 and the other one at 22 or 222. The one at 22, actually 3 of them. So you got 3 in there. So I can turn them all off and just turn on the ones that I want. 22 and then 222. And then they come down here to the next one. They're all at ELSs of 1. So I'm just going to leave them all on because that's the word tabernacle. So then once you get whatever you want to see in your list highlighted or turned on or turn off, you come back up here to the very first entry where it says 224. You double click on it, and it's going to reset the table so you can see everything in there that you have in your list on. So you can see there's a lot of plain text entries in here that I've made, but you can see that the word tabernacle is in there a lot. So it's at the end of this word here. It's here, 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 up here. Then you see Yeshua's name, and up here you have lamp, table, and bread. And then underneath here, you see Yeshua's name. That's the table that you see in -22. You see Yeshua, Yod, Shin, Wav, Ayin, all tucked in there and inside the coding. So now what did I want to do? I wanted to go through each one. Now what I want to do is I want to turn all these entries off except for the word code. So to do that, I would go double click on each entry and just come over here and say ignore search. Say okay. Ignore search. Okay. Ignore search.
So are you right clicking or?
I'm just double clicking on it with my left mouse button.
Okay, so then that brings it up.
Sorry about that. Double click with your left mouse button on each one of these. And you're going to get the advanced search parameter, and it tells you your default skip range is what you have entered here. I turn them all off. Even the last one off. And then once you turn them all off, hit your search button again, and you're going to see that they're no longer in your list. I just have Yeshua and the word codes. I double click on it, I'm going to have all the entries there, so I got to go back through and I'll take out all of them except 12, 22, and 222. And then I double click on it again, and here I'll blow it up a bit. See, the table is longer than the screen, so now you can't see the whole thing. If I want to see it, I have to use the slide bar to go back and forth. Sometimes you can get away with it going all the way to the end, but usually the only way to see the whole thing is to reduce the font. Or if you're doing proximity, usually what I'll do is I'll make the table smaller. I'll come up here to options and settings again. And instead of having it at 224, I'll maybe do a mathematical proportion of that number, say divided by 2 twice, which would be 56. And it'll shorten the table. So now only the entry here for Yeshua doesn't even come up because it's outside the parameters of the window, so it excludes it. And so do all those other entries, including the 22 from, and it's only showing me Yeshua, the access term, and it's showing me the word code here at an ELS of -12, and the other one here at an ELS of 222. So I'm actually narrowing, I'm moving outside all of the stuff that's on the sides of the table and just focusing in on the center of the table. And then from there, I can put in other entries. I can put in Moshiach. Moshiach. Type it in here, or actually, should showing you the virtual keyboard. To get the virtual keyboard, you go under options and then virtual keyboard. And there will come up, and then you just type it in. Mem, Shin, Yod, Het. Enter. And it's going to automatically enter it into your list. Now to see it, you have to search again. And then it comes up 4 times. Twice in the plain text, Moshiach. Moshiach down there. Moshiach down there, and Moshiach right there. So I probably want to just take that one out and leave the other ones in and double click on this, and that's what you get. Now the code, the Moshiach code. Actually, Moshiach in Arabic or Aramaic, it's Dalet Mem Shin Yod Het Aleph. So,
what verse would that be in?
Hold on, you double click on the line, double click on it, and it'll tell you the verse the chapter, the verse, the Hebrew spelling, and the English. That would be 9:14. And how much more will the blood of the Mashiach, who by the eternal Spirit offered himself without blemish to Yahuwah, purge our conscience from dead works so that we may serve the living Elohim, or Eloah. Eloah. And then you have the word Shem. Shem there.
It's really interesting.
That's so we can try to find where Moshiach is in the scripture now. We have it here, Dalet Mem Shin Yod Het Aleph. So that would be one line up. There it is right here. So now that would be good to go to options where it says word highlight. It'll highlight every other word. So if I wanted to actually highlight something now out of this scripture, I know where I'm going. I'd know where the first and last letter is. That is this word here. So yeah, it's really long. It goes off the page. Now, there was one I wanted to do. Go back to your word mem, shin, kaf, nun, aleph. That's the word tabernacle. Take that out of your ignore search and put it back in. And research, and then double click on 224, and you're going to see them back in there. But there's one entry here. What does it say now? But the Messiah who came was a high priest of the good things which he wrought, and he entered into the great and perfect tabernacle, which was not made with hands and was not of these created things.
Well, that's cool. That runs right through the axis.
Yeah, and you have the great and perfect tabernacle.
Right, running right through Yeshua.
Yeah, so it starts at the Wav, or does it start at the Wav? Entered. And entered, that's Wav Ayin Lamed, entered into the tabernacle, and then you have Resh Bet Aleph, that's great. Great. And perfect. And then the next word is perfect. So it's a whole lot easier to highlight a sentence when you have this highlight word, because if you try to do that like this, it's going to be difficult. You're going to be going, okay, oh, was that the last word? I'll go back. Okay, that wasn't last. No, that's the last word. Turn your word highlight on, and you're going to see where the words start and end. It's a whole lot easier. So now you can see the Wav go all the way here. And then you can see that when you put your mouse cursor over top of one letter and you click your left mouse button down and hold it, you're going to get this line. And whatever's under the line, it's going to end up in this box over here. So I want to highlight this whole string of letters. So I click and I hold it, and that line goes over top of all the letters that I want to highlight. Now unclick my mouse button, and it's going to be in there, and then you hit the add button, and it's going to automatically add it into your search list. So now when I click the search button, click search, and then come back down here to 224, double click on it. You see how it adds it in there? Now, remember, don't go from left to right. Otherwise, it's gonna use Aleph, Lamed, Mem. It's gonna write it all backwards, and it won't find it. So you gotta click and hold. So, but yeah, that's awesome, brother Scott. Now you can break those words up into individual words and see the word enter, like the word entered. Entered is actually, that'll probably be all over the place, but we'll do it anyways. Wav, Ayin, Lamed. Come up here to options, virtual keyboard, and we'll enter Ayin, or Wav, Ayin, Lamed. Enter, and push the search, and search again. And double click on where it says 224, and you're gonna have 53 entries. But you see there, it's written there 3 times in the plain text. Once here, where I highlighted. Once again, right down here, entered. We can look at that piece of scripture. And for this reason, he became the mediator of the new covenant, that he might by his death be redemption to them who had transgressed the first covenant, so that they who are called to the eternal inheritance might receive the promise.
So that'd be an abacus effect, probably, because the word perfect isn't in that verse, then, huh?
It's probably just being translated funky. Or it could be, like you said, an abacus. The text.
Yeah, there it is. You'll see that word Ayin Lamed by itself. Just a little bit to the, right in there.
Yeah. So there. Where's that? That's not. Against. They have it in the Aleph Tal. IS is the word against. Now, if you take that word and you go into your enter the interlinear scripture analyzer, and you look at it, Ayin Lamed, Wav, Ayin Lamed, and on, it's going to give you a slightly different definition. And on Wav, over on, actually those are the first 2 letters in that access term that it did, on the throne of David. So you would have to go through here. It's probably in this list somewhere. There's so many different over, on, over. It's slightly different in it. Anyways, back to the list. So you have it all over the place, and some of them are right in between where it says book or record. Yeah, here. Upon. I don't know where they get entered from out of that. Anyways, you catch the drift. So now you're seeing things that are either in the plain text and abacus effect. Now you're seeing it in ELS. It's all over the place. Now, if I want to just look at a couple of them, I don't want to look at all of them. I may want to look at the one that's at the same ELS. But we do have two of them. One there, one there. I know it's not really a significant word. I'm just trying to show you how to look for stuff and work the program. So I can maybe keep some of them in there, but most of them are all in the small ELSs that I want to see. So I hit the shift key, click the left mouse button, boom, they're all gone. I don't have to walk through all of them and turn them all off. They're all off now. So now I can go back and just click on those three. This one, maybe this one. And then come back here, click on the 224, and you'll see them pop up. So you have one here and one down here. Ion. I know that's alignment for code. One up here. So not really intense. I thought this would have been a whole lot simpler than trying to go to a different table or do something else. I figured it would stay with the table that I've already been showing you, and even though it's in the Bashida, it's the mechanics that you need to understand, because you're going to see other tables that have large words lists. You're going to want to put a lot of words in there. Is that good enough? Is that too much? Is it too little? Did I?
Oh, it was good.
Oh, Brother Chris, there's just one other thing that you might notice. If you look up at the icons in the upper left, you'll see by the blue book, the next icon, that one. Click on that one.
Ah, there we go. Shortcut.
Yep.
There we go. AOU. Other things. So if you click that little keyboard button next to the blue book, it's going to pop up the virtual keyboard.
Hey, Chris, can I ask a question, brother?
Yeah.
The one thing that I was trying to figure out was when you have your access term at the top of the list, right? That's always going to be your access.
Yeah.
The one thing I was trying to figure out and having trouble with was, can I change the skip range on my search terms underneath that? Because it seems like whenever I look for additional terms, it always falls under the skip range that I have set in there. Can you change that somehow? Like specific to the table that you're looking at? Like if I wanted to change the skip range?
No. See, that is one of the things that you can't do. That you can do in Torosoft.
Yeah, okay.
Like in Torosoft, open it up.
And in Keys as well, you could do that. I just was trying to figure out.
So I don't have a table up. Yeah, see, this button here in Torosoft will allow you to manually change your your table width, so you can make it bigger or shorter. But this one here, it's whatever ELS or page width that your access term was on. That's going to set the size of the table.
Isn't that where right above your keyboard? Isn't that up there? Isn't that where you can set it, or will that mess up what you've already got? You see what I'm talking about? Where it says 9. What is that? 919.
No, that's your search range.
Okay.
The only other thing that you can do to manipulate the size of the access term is either play with the numbers, doing mathematical ratios of the page width, or playing with your row skip.
Right, because
that'll actually go into a row skip of 4-year-old.
that's the thing. If I have an access term that's kind of long, and then I go to put in a small search term, and I search underneath the same parameters, it's going to give me like a billion results. You know, I was trying to figure out a way to manually set the parameters of my search term so it doesn't come up like a gazillion times.
Yeah, I do believe Brother Doug showed us how to do that. If we go under the term here, if you know the exact number, that in the minus, you can make it minus, like I just want 22 to come up, or 12. I would put minus 12, and then minus 12 again.
Okay.
And we'll search that again. Yeah, so there, minus 12. That's the only one that comes up.
Okay. So then you can isolate the skip range on your search terms without.
Yeah, that you can do. That's actually not something you can really do with Torosoft, but in Torosoft, at least you have the option. You have the option of turning them off and having them stay off. Like in Torosoft, when I first do a search for Cherub here, it's going to give me all the items for Cherub, and I got to manually turn them all off. But once they're off, and my next search isn't going to put them back on.
Okay.
But if you do it like this in Code Finder, if you don't manipulate the search range like I just showed you, it's going to do every time you search. If it's off, if you got a specific list that's in there, it's going to turn everything back on. Here, if you know the specific ELS, you can just search. I don't know how it works with the positive. I would imagine it works the same way. Hold on a second.
That's correct. You just put in whatever number is there. If it's a positive number or negative number, you just put it in.
So we got one here at 222 that I wanted to keep. So we'll put 222 and then 222.
That's correct.
And then we search again. Then we'll click on 222. There you go. That's the only one that's in there. 222.
If you want multiples of a particular word, what I do is I duplicate the search. I had a interesting table that came up with a Yahushua, and it had it went forward and backwards.
Okay. So what you're saying is, if we want to say the word code again, but just on a different ELS, we'd have to put it in again. So I'd have to type in code.
Right.
Type in code.
And do another search.
And then
you got to do I think you got to do the search.
well, I can set the parameters first and then do the search. So I entered code again. As you can see, it's in the list.
Oh,
Take
yeah.
off the default skip range and then just specify it minus 22. Again, minus 12, pardon me. Minus 12 and minus 12. And then search again to 22. And under codes, that's your first, that would be your first entry, and then you get another one down here. So you have it in twice, but they're targeted ELSs. So it almost looked the same as what Code Finder would. It's just you don't have you don't see the file structure or the substructure in it. It's just telling you the entries, just to get rid of that confusion. So you have one here and one here. Actually, what I can do is I can just remove all of these. And so I'm not seeing them on it. Yeah, I took out the one for 222. Oops. So I'll put it in keyboard. The code. Click. Take the default skip range off. 222. 222. The minimum and maximum skip number. Enter. Search again. And then open it up. And now you have two entries for the word code. One at minus 12 and the other one at 222. Thank you very much, Brother Doug.
The only thing that it really has a problem with is if you have like a whole bunch of skip of ones, you're going to have a whole bunch of skip of ones, and there isn't a whole lot you can do about that that I know of.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know how to do that. We'll just highlight this word here again. Put it in. Add. Search. Now you'll see a whole bunch of them come up. Now say you have some in the ELS as well. I do believe you just go in there and you take off the default skip range and then you just say 1 or 0, 0 and then 1. It still comes up. Or here, hold on. Let's try that with Mashiach instead, because we know that there's more. So let's try that with Mashiach. 0 and 1. 0 and 1. Hit the search button. And under Mashiach, there you go. Only the ones show up. I don't even think I have to put in the 0. I think I just have to put 1 and 1.
But that will always show you all of the ones that have a skip of 1.
Yeah.
About the only way that you can get it down to a single entry is by turning on the closest or shortest. Actually, I don't think the shortest works for the smallest. But if you do the closest, it will just give you one entry. That's the closest to the axis term.
Yeah, okay. Let's put that on. Change. Experimenting here. Any other questions?
Well, thank you guys, by the way, for explaining all that. It's very helpful.
You're welcome.
So you don't have any color choices in there. It does it for you.
Color choices? Okay, this is kind of odd. I'll change the color in my okay, you get this. Go up here to options, go to background, and every key is going to have a color. Now, if I just change one of them, only one of the letters is going to have a different color. If I want all of the letters to have the same color, I have to change them all. But they kind of made it easy, but you still have to go through each one and click on it. Your first one, when you click on it, you're going to have to change the color. So I'll use this one here. I say, okay, it's going to change it. But then you click on your next one. You don't have to choose, say, have a custom color. You don't have to. It'll automatically be in the thing. You just say, okay. Each one you go and say, okay. Click on it, okay. Click on it, okay. 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 So you can change your color to any of these colors. Sorry, I may be going faster than what the screen is displaying, but all I'm doing is I'm clicking on the button and just saying okay in the color scheme to choose the color. Okay. And once you get all your color changed, you say okay. Boom. It changes the whole thing. Now the letter colors, the computer, I guess it chooses that. I have no control over that, nor can I take out the circles or the squares or whatever. I wish it didn't have that in there.
You're kind of stuck with Hobson's choice.
Yeah. Yeah, see, Torasoft has that choice, actually. I can go into the color scheme and I can say these colors and say rectangles for highlighted symbols. Where do I have to go to? Oh, cool. Oh, gee, I don't know how it does that. You can turn it on and off. You don't have to have it on. I usually have it off anyway, so. I've tried to paint them out sometimes, but then I always figure somebody's got one of those programs that'll allow you to see what you've changed on a photo, and they'll go, gee, what's he doing on his photo? And I'm like, never mind. I think about those things. Anyways, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question for you, Chris.
Sure.
When you have multiple entries under your search category, I realize that this is a small one and you only have 2 there, but if you have multiples of them, what do you use to choose which one you want to work with? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Okay, in this window here,
Yeah, you've got two main matrices.
okay, yeah, this window here just shows you the list and tells you the settings for each.
No, I'm talking about your results.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This window down here is where you're working from to turn them on and turn them off.
Right, but what I'm saying is that you came up with two main categories under your main search term,
Oh, right.
2 codes. So if
Yeah.
you have multiples of those, how would you go through about determining which one you wanted to use or which one you wanted to work with? 1 or 2 or
That's totally up to you and the Holy Spirit.
okay, all right. I just wondered if you had a trick.
Yeah, just for the entry here, the -22 one was the one that jumped out at me when I first put Yeshua in here, because the Ramsel code with Yeshua in Proverbs 30 is at an ELS of 22, and that's the Yeshua code. So when I put this in here and it popped up and I seen the ELS of 22, even though it's in the minus, it jumped out at me. Oh, wow, cool. That's in Hebrews. Look at that. His name is running right through the lamp, the bread, and the table and the bread.
Chris, if you only want to see the -22, go up to your primary search term and double click that one. The primary.
Yeah.
Okay, and then give a turn off the default and put in -22, and you will only see that search term.
Okay. -22. I have research. Yeah, there you go. It takes me back to the other table. It doesn't even show me the 224 table now.
Right, because
You-
they don't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't exist now. So we can actually, or we can go 224. 224. Now it's just showing me the 224 table in here.
I do that with multiples that I want to really research and do the save search results on each one in a different file, so I can call them up in a different file and search on them separately to see what I want to glean from each one.
Yeah. Good idea.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you, Brother Doug. You're the one who answered that question. Any other questions? I mean, this is the same file that's in Discord under the code. Bible code. Upload your tables now. So if you want to practice anything that I've shown you tonight, the file is on there. You just have to go to File and import search results. You just got to remember where you've saved it on your computer. And upload your tables. It's just right here. You download that. Remember where you save it. Open up Code Finder, the file, import search results, find it in your list, open it up, double click on the first entry or It'll leave you your minus 22 or 224 and go to town. Try to do some of the things that I just showed you right in that table. Add Moshiach, try to get 2 entries of code in there, remove some of the things, turn some of them off. Change your settings from 22 to 224. Look at it at a different row skip. You can see it at row skip of 3. You can see it at row skip of 2. I think you can see it at row skip 1. Disable it there. Disable. You can see how the matrix changes as you look at it, different ELSs. 5, 6. Yeah, it actually goes 6, 4. So, anybody else?
I have a question.
Oh no.
Now that you have a resource for Aramaic, have you been trying to search out terms in Aramaic? And if so, how are you comparing your results to the Hebrew? I was kind of thinking about that earlier. Like, I wonder.
Well, first of all, I haven't been trying to develop large ELS terms yet in Aramaic.
Right.
Just mostly just one, 5-letter word, 4-letter word. Mostly just Yeshua and codes and just small ones, and looking at it single books or just chapters. And,
Right.
I haven't really gone overboard.
Okay, I did, because I know you had just gotten those books. I didn't know how far you've gotten with that, and even with like modern words, it would be difficult because I don't know if that language is still being used or not.
Yeah.
I guess in searching for biblical concepts, you wouldn't really need any modern words in Aramaic.
Well, here's the thing. The book of Daniel, there's a lot of Aramaic words in there. Like if I type in the word in the Shemaiah, this is the Shemaim, except the Aleph replaces the closed mem.
Right.
And you're specifically, you're going to see it only in Daniel.
Huh.
But that was the time era in which Aramaic was mixing in with the Hebrew words.
Right. Sure. Wow.
Some of the earlier writings, you don't see the Aramaicism much because they haven't been mixing the languages much. But when you see it start getting down to Daniel, you'll start to see that these Aramaic words start popping up.
Very curious.
Yeah, you've got that. You have to the Shemaiah, only in Daniel. So some of these words are actually in the Peshitta. Like this word here is in the Peshitta. I know it. I just seen it. So you can search for it and look for it. So it's that was the whole purpose of changing the font from the Aramaic font to the Babylonian Hebrew font, is because now it becomes compatible with the old ancient Hebrew. So now I can look for words in there that may not be spelled in Aramaic, but because you have the Hebrew font set, you have a good chance that word is going to come up because it's compatible. Now, if we did that with, if we changed out the Peshitta font, the Babylonian Hebrew font with Paleo Hebrew, that's what Brother Doug just did. So now if we did that with the Paleo-Hebrew, a Hebrew version of the Brit Hadashah, and we swapped out the Babylonian Hebrew font with the Paleo-Hebrew font with the Tanakh, and the same with the Torah, we would have the entire works of the Torah, the Tanakh, and the Brit Hadashah all in one font. And we'd be able to search the whole thing. We could do it if we kept the font in Babylonian Hebrew. But some of the things that are recorded that are hidden in the Peshitta, you wouldn't see them because it's not the Peshitta. I mean, it might work if you stuck the Peshitta on it. I'm not sure how that would affect the. Because that would be interesting because the first writings were written in Paleo-Hebrew, and that's what Daniel did. He took the books and fixed all the errors that were going on in the books, but then he changed the font. That's where the font changed, was when they were in Babylonian exile. That's why they call it the Babylonian Hebrew font. So you have three writings, which was originally the first one, which was originally written under the Paleo-Hebrew, and then, like I said, some of them later on, the Aramaic gets in there, and then you have this Babylonian Hebrew font. When they came out of Babylon, so you had some of the Paleo and the Babylonian Hebrew and the Aramaic already mixing with each other. So I don't know if what kind of results you would have if you took the Babylonian Hebrew and the Peshitta and tried to put it together. That would be an interesting concoction. But that's what we have. Any more questions? Any questions from Brother Jonathan?
No, I'm just kind of following along. I mean, it just has a lot of functions, and I have to learn.
Yeah, well, like I said, I wanted to get away with, going into the help and the tools, and the window, and I just want to get you used to the most common buttons, the most common features that you're going to be using, like
Right.
row splitting, search area, and settings, and the virtual keyboard are the three out of this list you're going to use the most. Out of this here, you're going to be using open. If you're opening a new search, you would open Peshitta, open Tanakh, whatever. But if you're importing, want to open a save file, you would import search results. If you want to save the file, you go to export. You're not using them all the time, but you will use them in order to save your results. So open, export, import, these first three in this window are the most important that you can use. Knowing the row splitting, I just showed you that. The search area, the search area will define the exact place where you want to look in. I'm looking directly in the book of Hebrews in chapter 9, between the first verse and the last verse. So that gives you your search area and your settings. You want to keep your lock matrix on. You don't want to put your wrap on. That will wrap the page, so it'll just continue. You don't want that. This changes your column size, 200. Oh, sorry. Disable. Settings 20. Yeah, so that's like only showing 20. It's not even showing the full 224. So if I want to see 224 across, I do 224. So it's showing the whole 224 characters across. If I want to see more down, then you keep opening. Go back to the settings, and I'm only looking at 40 characters up and down, but 224 going across. And then the wraps. This program is really funky. Sometimes it'll listen to the wrap skip. Sometimes it'll you have to change it in the option up here. I don't know why. Row splitting. Sometimes you have to use the numbers to split it. Sometimes you can just use the setting here to split it. So those are basically your most used functions. You will have some of your extra things in there if like you want to look at the statistics of each character. So, you know, some report. You can look at the report and look at the p-value and the yeah, a lot of these are entries of ones, so it's not going to give you an accurate. Only the ones that are actually in ELS are going to give you accurate numbers. This one and this one. It tells you the from and to, and that's really not much of a window that I look at a lot. So it's row splitting, search area settings, and virtual keyboard. Yes, so view, windows, tools, and help have lesser. They're important functions. They're just not as used as these other four are. Now, if I want to save this, I'll go back to my okay. So what we want to do is we want to save this, and we'll just go File, Export Search Results. It gives me my file directory, and I want to look someplace where I can save it. Find your, go back to students, views, and we'll save this as number 3. There, it's saved. Now it's such a small file, it doesn't, you won't see the status bar down here, but if you got a larger table, you'll see the status bar working down here. So if you're clicking on your window and it's not doing anything, it's not because your computer's frozen, it's because the computer's still working and you got to look at your status bar down here.
Yeah, we need to integrate into anything we get customized for this group a little more user friendly, because that's a lot of details to.
This was done by a software development company. So they had a lot of and I don't think they were making it to be user friendly. They were making it for people who are already understood things like AutoCAD and,
Yeah.
you know.
It seems like Torsoft's a little more streamlined in the sense that it's, you know, to save a file, it's just a matter of clicking save file and it brings up your, you know.
I mean, I don't know why they put in import export. That must have been something that it's just a real fancy way of saying save your file. That's all it is. But if you don't know what exporting and importing is, it's the same thing, saving your file. And if you want to garbage the whole thing, you can just push the garbage button and it's gone. So I don't know what to do after. I mean, I think I might just let you guys play around with what I've shown you and just be around for anybody's help. I think that's probably, or what I could do is have the class again next week and just go through, have somebody come up on screen, somebody who wants to show me what they've done, or
That has the program. Scott, you've got Code. Do you have Code Finder? Or are you still?
Yes, I just recently acquired it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind sharing codes in class. I've got some I'm working on that I'd like just to throw out there and get comments on.
okay, so we'll do that next week and let you absorb what I just showed you, and don't want to go too fast.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Still, I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying.
Oh, it's okay.
No, I haven't shared anything yet with Code Finder because I'm still kind of learning my way around it. And man, if it wasn't for Chris and Doug and a few others, I wouldn't. I'd still be pulling my hair out trying to figure it out. So I'm very grateful that you're taking the time to do this class, brother.
You're welcome. I mean, Keys to the Bible seems to have almost the same level of complication because there's a lot of windows, a lot of features, and I don't know. I've never used Keys to the Bible, but from what I've seen, there's a certain level of sophistication there. I wouldn't know. I couldn't tell you if it's the same level as Code Finder, but if you can understand Keys, you're going to be able to understand Code Finder. It's just, you got to make the transition, that's all.
Code Finder or Keys has a lot of different options, and it's set up differently, it seems like. And the only thing, like you said, you have to deal with when you're using Keys to the Bible is just having to deal with the glitches, because it is very glitchy. It's just something you kind of have to accept when you have the program. So when something happens, you just kind of have to take a deep breath, and it's good to save things as you go along, especially if you're working on a very big table. Otherwise, you could lose it very easily over just a simple glitch, and then you have to Control-Alt-Delete and close it out and reopen it. And at that point, you've lost anything unless you've saved it.
Yeah, so Code Finder is a lot more stable than.
It does seem like it is.
It's not as glitchy. It's just finicky with its settings. So, good Code Finder. Good Code Finder. You got to stroke it before you use it. Good Code Finder. Good Code Finder.
You can make it angry, though.
Yeah.
Definitely make it angry. And that's by deleting a term and then click on it when you've deleted it. It doesn't crash, but it's annoying. It goes through a whole iteration of address exception or something like that.
Okay.
So if you delete terms and that, be very very cautious about doing. And that's particularly when you go into looking at the report. In other words, if you go delete a whole bunch of terms, but you don't do a new search on it, and you go into report, it gets angry.
Okay. Thanks for warning us how far to go to the fence. Does anybody have anything they want to share at the moment?
I have a small one that kind of shows where you can use the multiple terms and all of that. I have one fairly small little table that I was working on that I found a really interesting anomaly in.
Okay. If you want to share it, that's perfectly acceptable.
Okay.
And we're in a code finder class, so
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Did it come up or?
so that's really nice how you have your list. It makes it a whole lot easier when you have all your stuff labeled.
Oh yes, yes, and you can double click on it just like you can click on Hebrew. But the really interesting thing was I have a here's there's Yahuwah with a minus 1966. And you look up at the top here, and you see Yahuwah at a plus 1966. So you have
That
a
is way cool.
That's awesome.
all of the other things are in there. And the interesting thing that I found really interesting is my name follows at the same minus 1966 skip right along here. I thought that was fantastic. So that really showed me. But what I did was, if we go through and look at the terms, here is the first one at plus 1966. And I did the second one at minus 1966. And there's also another one that it's kind of off the screen at minus 3275. You can't see it because or I can't see it. It's kind of, well, I can move it in. Okay, it goes down this way.
Okay.
So there were a lot of interesting terms here, but this one I really found was fascinating. That it just followed my first name, and of course the whole main term is just my last name, and then there's a lot of interesting terms in there. But this is one I wanted to show that this is stop that.
Is 1966 significant to you?
Well, in a way.
Yeah. Usually you'll see some sort of significance in the number.
Yeah, it was, but not in a good way. Yeah, that was very dark time in my life that I definitely needed the Father, and was rejecting him. Then I kind of came to the conclusion that I spelled my middle name with two Wavs, and that's two hooks. And when I was 4 years old is when I first started going to church on my own, and I managed to wriggle off the hook, and now I'm back on it again. So that's why it's like that. Okay, but it was a real interesting little term here, but this is what I wanted to show, that it went forward and backwards, and that I found quite interesting. Okay, I'm going to stop now.
Thank you very much, brother, for sharing. Well, if nobody else has anything to share or nobody has questions, I'll just pray us out and get me back on Friday. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Sold. Okay, I'll pray us out. And Dear Heavenly Father, Yahuwah, thanks for being with us and allowing us to be able to continue doing this and letting your spirit just guide the class. And thank you for such a wonderful group of people. I ask that you watch over the students and whatever needs they have, take care of them and protect them from the enemy and go with them as they leave. We thank you for all your wonderful blessings. And it's a wonderful blessing to spend time with our brothers and sisters in your presence. Thank you in Yeshua's name. Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
You're welcome.
So very much.